So again, welcome to District of Creativity, here to help. This morning's panel is going to be in two parts. So the first part will be a conversation with Maryann Lombardi, who is the Associate Director of the Creative Affairs Office, along with Jeff Scott from the Commission on the Arts and Humanities and Claudia Herrera from DCRA. Then at 11:45, we're going to transition to a conversation with Kennisha Rainge, who is also with the Creative Affairs Office, and Andre Chisolm from Department of Employment Services to answer all your questions about unemployment and the opportunities and resources available for creatives here in the district. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Maryann Lombardi.
Hello, hello, hello. How are you? Thank you all for being here. I'm thrilled that you had taken your time on a Tuesday morning to hang out with us at 11 o'clock. I mean, that's pretty great. So we're happy to see you, even though we can't see you, but I'm happy to know that you are here. As Lee mentioned, my name is Maryann. I run the DC Creative Affairs Office, and we're a relatively new office, and our focus really is about creative entrepreneurs focused on policy, right? How do we help through policy? How do we help also from an economic mobility standpoint? What does that look like? We see economic mobility as both a conversation between saving money and also a conversation of earning more. And then the other side of our work is really about infrastructure. How are we building infrastructure from traditional senses, but also in socio and emotional ways too? So we're really excited about our work. We're really excited to share more of that with you over time and to get to know you, hear your needs, and move from there. I want to thank Generator, who's our partner on this programming for this week. They're a national creative economy incubator, and they have programs all over the country doing really amazing things with the creative entrepreneurs, especially in the art, visual art area and the music area, and so much more. So if you get a chance, check them out. You'll see their information on our daily emails, and please reach out and find out more or take advantage of the one-on-ones. Let's start this conversation by getting to know two people I kind of like a lot. This is Claudia Herrera and Jeff Scott from, Claudia is from DCRA and Jeff is from the Commission, CAH. And so we're going to take a little time to get to know them and find out a little bit more about what they do. So Claudia, if you don't mind, if we can start with you, if you don't mind introducing yourself, and what the heck is DCRA?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Claudia Herrera. I work for DCRA, which is Department of Consumer and Regulatory Affairs. I specifically work in the Small Business Resource Center under the Business and Professional Licensing Administration. So what DCRA does is we protect the health and well-being of all constituents in the District of Columbia when it comes to registration, licensing, permitting, anything that involves any type of building property in the District of Columbia. That's what we take care of.
That's fantastic. Can you tell us a little bit about how your agency tends to engage with creatives, whether they're creative small businesses or solopreneurs, or how do they usually come to engage with your office?
So a lot of creatives or businesses in general come to our office seeking advice when it comes to how to go about our regulatory process of registering their business, if they need any special type of permitting, and especially licenses. I noticed that a lot of creatives mainly go for our general business license, which means that they are just providing a service to the District of Columbia when it comes to their business needs. It's our most basic license, and then oftentimes we see that they may have to get additional permitting through our special events division, which may consist of obtaining like a one-day permit if they're on some sort of public property.
Okay, that's great. So Jeff, just to bring you in here for a minute, do you mind explaining what the Commission is and what it does?
Sure. So the Commission on the Arts and Humanities is the designated state arts agency for the District of Columbia. The National Endowment for the Arts is the federal organization, federal agency that partners with all of the different states across the United States. They all have state arts agencies. The NEA distributes funding to those states, and then the state arts agencies turn around and put that money back out into the community. So we do that on behalf of the District of Columbia, and then we also make our own grants from our own local funds to artists and arts organizations here in DC.
So it sounds like granting is your primary work at the Commission. Are there other things that you guys provide that aren't necessarily about grant making?
Sure, we do a lot of professional development work for artists, as far as workshops on how to do your artist statements, professional development institutes for teaching artists and arts educators throughout the year. And we also have produced a great number of public artworks in the city. We partner with DPW to produce the Murals DC project every year. We worked on other projects. The Maryann Lombardi statue in front of the Wilson Building was created by us. So you'll see that a lot of the public art commissions come through our office as well.
That's great to hear. I'm curious from both of your perspectives, sort of what the process is for creatives when they engage with you, right? Like, so for example, how difficult is it to get a license? How difficult is it to understand what permitting you might need? And also from the commission standpoint, sort of what the barrier of entry, for lack of a better term, for folks to engage with the resources that exist there, sort of what those processes are like?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll go first. So we have group workshops and one-on-one sessions that help assist you when it comes to navigating through DCRA's regulatory process. Because oftentimes we see that they get all of this information from the websites and Google and things like that, but they don't know where to start. So that's why the Small Business Resource Center was created. It's like a one-stop shop for them to navigate through our regulatory process, from registration with DCRA, IRS, tax and revenue, through our zoning division, depending on where their location is going to be, whether it be from home or a commercial space, and then ultimately basic business licensing. So they can attend one of our group workshops to get a better understanding in a group atmosphere, or they can schedule a one-on-one session.
Yeah, that's great. The SBRC, can you explain a little bit more about what that is?
Sure. So the Small Business Resource Center is a one-stop shop where we provide assistance from starting and growing and strengthening your business. We've been around for a few years now. So we help customers navigate through the process. Oftentimes they don't know where to start. And the very first step to starting a business is navigating through the process of registering their business, whether they be a corporate entity or a sole proprietorship. So the reason for the SBRC, which is the Small Business Resource Center, is to kind of handhold through the process.
And how does that connect to, say, the work that a DSLBD might be doing? How do you guys either collaborate in that way or work together, or how are you different?
So DSLBD, which is the Department of Small and Local Business Development, their main focus is to navigate customers after they've already licensed their business through DCRA. And this could be through grant opportunities, through becoming a CBE, which is a Certified Business Enterprise, to better gain District of Columbia government contracting. So we're alike, but we're different. We work in partnership when it comes to providing one-on-one sessions and group workshops, but their functions are more helping the customer versus our functions is more a regulatory side.
Yeah, that's very helpful the way you said it, that after they get registered and they get their license, then DSLBD can come in and help with other stuff. So that was actually very, very helpful, the connection there. From the perspective of the commission, Jeff, sort of what is the barrier of entry? How do people get in it?
So our grant applications are open at certain times of the year, and that can be a barrier for people. If they miss an application window, then they have to wait for a whole year sometimes for that opportunity to come up. So we typically open the grant applications in the spring and summer. We have some that are open right now. They go through a panel process. They're reviewed by volunteer panelists from the community, from the different artistic disciplines and fields. And then those panelists will score the applications. And from those scores, the commissioners can create a funding recommendation based on the available budget. And that's how the process basically works. So it's a very lengthy process. It takes a couple of months. So the timing of it for a lot of people is a skill to learn. That, you know, if I have a project that I want to try to get a grant for, I need to work back from, you know, when I want that project to happen, work back long enough to where I know there's enough time for the application period, but when that application is going to open. So in some cases, an applicant may be putting in their grant application a year before the actual project is meant to happen. So that can be difficult for some folks because they may not have the idea at the time, or things may change. But that's one of the biggest things. We've tried to in the past have different windows open up so that we might do one in the fall and then one in the spring to be more to give more flexibility to folks. But currently we just have the ones that are open up through the summer into the fall for the following fiscal year.
Okay, great. And so from the perspective of the Commission on the Arts and Humanities, can you, it sounds like you also have opportunities to help people better understand how to take advantage of the resources, whether it's through trainings or, can you talk a little bit about the trainings you guys might have there and any one-on-one support that exists?
Sure. So every time we have a grant that's open, we offer assistance workshops on how to fill out the application, how to navigate that system and get that information in. The grant managers themselves are all available for individual one-on-one consultations. So an applicant can reach out to the grant manager of the program that they're interested in applying for and get feedback. They can even send in a draft application of their grant for the grant manager to review and schedule some one-on-one time for them to go through the application, and the grant manager can point out, what the strengths are, what the weaknesses are. They can't write the application for you and it's anything like that, but there is that opportunity for that coaching as you go into it. And then following the application period, once the decisions are made, whether you receive a grant or you don't, the grant managers are available to give one-on-one postmortem feedback on your application. So you can have a chance, because these all go through panels, the grant manager can walk you through what the panelists thought of it, what they identified as strengths and weaknesses, so you can use that information to hopefully put in a stronger application in the future. Even if you got the grant, you can always try to improve on that application for future opportunities.
Yeah, that's very helpful. Claudia, from a Department of Consumer and Regulatory Affairs perspective, why does having a business license matter?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people run businesses all the time, right? Like, and sometimes they don't have licenses, right? So why is that important to actually license your business?
So the main purpose of licensing a business in the District of Columbia is because, number one, it's a mandate, District of Columbia law, that if you're doing business in DC, you have to be registered and properly licensed in DC. And a benefit of being registered in DC is, like I mentioned before, the Certified Business Enterprise Program run out of DSLBD, where you can qualify for District of Columbia government contracts. So that's one of the main purposes of why a business needs to be registered in the District of Columbia, because without being registered in the District of Columbia, then they can't apply for that program. And oftentimes people don't know about our process, because sometimes they start off small, they don't know about the registration, they don't know about permitting, and they don't know about licensing. And that's the main reason that we did start the Small Business Resource Center, to advocate and let people know that we're here, we're a resource, we're a free resource, of course, because we're a part of the District of Columbia government, but to help them better understand why they do need to register their business and license it in DC.
And the trainings that you have, do they happen sort of ad hoc, or is there sort of like a series of trainings, or how does that work? So it sounds like, because what it sounds like you're saying is that people can go to the Small Business Resource Center, they can learn why it's important to do these things, and they can get some one-on-one support, and then they can go to the broader agency and then do that licensing. Is that the process that you sort of take people on?
Well, not all the time do they just go through DSLBD. They can go through other agencies. Like, let's say, for instance, if they are opening up a food establishment, they have to go through DC Health. They may have to go through ABRA, which is Alcohol Beverage Regulation Administration. It all depends on what their business activity is. specifically for creatives, when it comes to attending one of our webinars or one of our one-on-one sessions, is to grasp the concept of what are the regulations that they need from DCRA, and then to better assist them, because they're always going to have questions. And then we also have different partnerships around the city. We have partnerships with the DC Small Business Development Center to help them along a business planning process. DC Bar Pro Bono Center if they need free legal advice. DSLBD if they need help obtaining that CBE certification. So these are partnerships that we have where we provide these type of workshops. And now we are rolling out a series when it comes to the DC Small Business Development Center to help them along the different steps of obtaining a business plan. Because it's a never-ending document. It can start off small, it can grow to be something large, but then it's a never-ending document. So they're always going to need assistance.
Yeah, I really love that you call it a one-stop shop, because it does seem like it's a really great place to start, right? Because you can go into the Small Business Resource Center, the SBRC, and they can help guide you then where you might need to go to get the rest of the support that you need, it sounds like.
Yep. And most of our resources when it comes to our partnerships aren't available every day, but they are available frequently. Most of our workshops are on a monthly basis, and most of our counselors come in about 3 to 4 times a month.
That's great.
Right now I'm doing them virtually.
Yeah. Well, and Jeff, I know that you guys have quite a bit of trainings, or you have had in the past. How have you been able to transfer those things into a virtual environment? And also, do you find that it's a great way for people to start to do one of your trainings to then better understand how to take advantage of the rest of the resources?
Yeah, so we are 100% virtual now, like most people are. So we've been presenting the grant workshops in a format similar to this. Something that we've done for years now, actually, when we have grant applications open, is done a live chat session online with the grant managers, usually on Fridays. And so that's, it started off as really just an old school chat room, just text-based, where folks could log in and they could just type in their questions, and the grant staff was around. They blocked off time at their computers so that they could reply in real time. So we had that sort of like, 1.0 virtual, engagement going on back in the day. We're continuing to do that now. It is good to, come by one of the workshops and learn about the programs. They're specific to the grant program that they're discussing, but you can find out a lot of information that is applicable across programs, because when we deal with organizations, we primarily deal with 501c3 nonprofit organizations. We deal with individuals too, as well, in certain grant programs. But a lot of the requirements for a lot of the grants stay the same. For instance, any grant to an individual, you have to be a district resident. If it's an organization, you'd have to be a 501c3 based in the district, because since this is district money primarily, we want to keep it here in DC, and other things like that. You have to have your clean hand certification, of course, which is kind of standard across the government for any kind of transactions. So there are those opportunities, but you can also, on our website, we have the grants that are currently open with their applications, and then we also have grants that have closed, and so you can go back through there and see what programs have been run in past years. And a lot of times the basic bulk of the content of the application stays the same year over year. There may be some nuances, funding levels may change, deadlines change, of course, but if you want to just get a general sense of what sort of grant programs we run in general, you can certainly look at the closed applications from last year.
Do you mind letting folks know what kind of grant opportunities are available for individuals?
Sure. So right now we have, there's 3 grants that are open for individuals. One is our Projects, Events, and Festivals grant. That's open until July 24th. This is a grant to fund any sort of specific arts or humanities project that would happen in FY21. So October 1 through next September 30th. So this could be something from a project like working on a book, putting on a play, putting on an exhibition. Granted, a lot of these things may still be in a virtual space next year. And so that's being taken into account. So if you are proposing to do a virtual exhibition or a virtual project, presentation, reading, whatever, that's going to be accepted as something to consider by the panelists. So don't think that, you know, if it's not traditional that we're not going to look at it. We will look at anything virtual this year. So the projects and festivals, that's open until July 24th for specific projects that they have to occur within the next fiscal year. We also have the Art Bank program. This is anyone who goes into district government buildings, you see beautiful artwork on the walls. That's a program that's been going on for a number of years, where artwork is acquired from local artists for that purpose of displaying within the district buildings, and also to provide compensation to the artists. That is open for any visual artists and fine artists until October 7th, that they can submit works for consideration for acquisition into the collection. And then the curatorial grant program, at our office at 200 I Street Southeast, when it's open, we have a beautiful lobby gallery. It's of course currently closed, but one program that we've started up a couple of years ago is to use that lobby space, the gallery in the lobby, for local curators to program. And so we'll do one of these next year, because we think we'll be able to do at least one exhibition probably later in the fiscal year. But that not only gives the curator access to the space to put up an exhibition that they conceptualize and execute, but it also comes with $25,000 worth of funding to help fund the exhibition. So if there needs to be any new commissions of artworks or anything like that, there's funding, there's space and funding to put up the exhibition. And that's that application closes on October 21st. So those are the ones that we have open right now. The other big one, which actually just closed for individual artists, is our Arts and Humanities Fellowship Program. And that is sort of like a general operating support for an individual artist based on their body of work. It's a pretty simple application that actually just closed. So that's not available right now. And one thing that I'd point out, usually most of these applications are open a little bit earlier into the year. We usually run them from beginning of May into late June, early July. But because of the situation, of course, that we're in, we've had to push some things back. And so we're on a slightly different timeline than is normal. So I would just say for folks that don't count these dates as necessarily what to look forward to next year, we'll probably be back to our normal selves and be running things a little bit earlier next year.
Okay, that's super helpful. Before we jump into a little Q&A, Claudia, I was wondering if there was two things that an entrepreneur or a small business could do to engage with DCRA. What would you suggest they do?
Definitely visit our center, the Small Business Resource Center, which is the SBRC. Right now, since everything is virtual, sign up for a one-on-one session to understand why they need to register and license their business. And then usually from that, I let them know to not do anything yet until they seek legal counsel. We always advise them to seek legal counsel and also to speak with a business advisor, because all these components go into a business plan. When it comes to the registration, permitting, and licensing, all of these things are going to go into that plan for you to move forward. The cost, the fees, the steps that they have to take. So usually I let them know, register for a one-on-one session. They're free, so they can obtain all the information at one time.
Yeah, and I'm just going to give a shout out to you, Claudia, just in general, because you are so accessible to people. I think that it is really wonderful because, you know, anytime I have somebody's asked me a question I can't answer, you know, I've always sent them over to you. And I love the fact that you are very responsive and accessible. And so I just want the community to know that if you're confused at all about what you're doing, reach out to your government friends, because they are human beings like these two wonderful people, Claudia and Jeffrey, who are happy to answer any questions that you have, even if you don't know exactly what the right question is to ask. So thank you.
I always let them know that if I don't know the answer, I'm always able to get them the answer through another outlet.
Yeah, that's great. And Jeffrey, the same thing. Are there two things that you would suggest people do right now to make sure that they stay connected?
Sign up for our mailing list, which you can do on our website. There's a link for that on dcrs.dc.gov, because that's our primary way of getting information out to folks. So sign up for the mailing list and make sure that you whitelist us so that we're going into your inbox and not your spam folder. And you say you never heard from us, because we will email you, I promise. But we want you to get it. So that and social media, of course, too. I would consider those one thing, because those are our biggest channels, especially right now in this environment. But in general, we put a lot of information out that way. But then I would also advise, just sort of like Claudia says, just if you have a vague notion of an idea that is artsy, that is artistic, cultural in any way, but you don't know if it would qualify for a grant, or you don't know what to do with it, you can always give us a call. Even when applications are not open, our grant managers, our staff are happy to talk through ideas with the residents, with the community, and just help to bounce those ideas around and say, like, well, that's a good idea, that might fit for this kind of grant, or have you thought about this, or that's not going to work though, maybe you should go over here. Sometimes other agencies have opportunities that are a better fit for a project that someone might be thinking, and we can direct them in that way too.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And just so everyone knows, in the email, the follow-up email that we send after this session, we'll give you guys the contact information and some takeaways from this as well. But as we move on to the next section, Lee, do you mind letting us know if we've got any questions from folks?
We do have some questions. So Claudia, if you wouldn't mind telling us, because times are tough financially for a lot of folks. So how much does it cost to register your business? Like, how much do people need to have on hand for that process?
So for the registration process, depending on if they want to register as a corporate entity, the corporate registration is $220. And that's just the initial fee to actually establish the business. They will have to keep up with the business by filing a biannual report, which is due every 2 years. The report is $300. But if they want to start off smaller and take on more liability for the business, then they would register as a sole proprietorship and then just register a name, which is the trade name registration. And the fee for that is $55. And they would renew that for the same fee every 2 years. That's just for the registration portion. When it comes to zoning, whether they are working from home, if they are, they would apply for a home occupation permit. The home occupation permit allows them to use their home no more than 35% of the square footage, and it's a one-time fee to apply for the permit, and the fee is $72.60. But if they're working out of a commercial space in the District of Columbia or elsewhere, we would just need to see proof of the certificate of occupancy along with the leasing agreement, and then there's no fee for that portion. When it comes to the general business licensing category, the fee is $324.50. That licensing fee has to be renewed every 2 years.
So are those fees somewhere that people can find them easily, either on the DCRA site or with the SBRC?
So all of our fee schedules are available on dcra.dc.gov. We have 12 different categories when it comes to our licensing process, but over 165 different endorsements. So it would all depend on the specific business activity that will dictate which endorsement a business falls under. But primarily for most creatives, when they're just providing a service to the District of Columbia, they would just apply for a general business license. But we always encourage them to ask first, so that way we are better able to assist them and let them know which license is the license that they need to apply for.
Yeah, when in doubt, go to the Small Business Resource Center. Yeah, great. Lee, any other?
Yeah, I have more questions. Another question for you, Claudia. When it comes to some of the resources that you mentioned, are all those services free? And especially when it comes to the DC Bar Pro Bono, how do they work with creatives? And again, is that free for folks who may not be able to afford a lawyer?
Yes, I always tell people ask questions, whether it be signing up for a one-on-one session, whether it be signing up for a webinar, any of our counselors. All of our services will always be free, as far as I know. We always encourage them to first sign up with us to get better guidance on where to go. And primarily when it comes to our partnership with the DC Bar Pro Bono Center, they're a separate nonprofit entity that provides sessions to us. And they provide these sessions every last Friday of the month by appointment only. to better assist customers in navigating through the legal process of the corporation's process if they want to establish a corporate entity, or to better guide them on how they should register their business, maybe help them with bylaws, contracts, anything that's like a legality thing, but they're free services.
All right. Awesome. I'm back. All right, Jeff, I haven't forgotten about you. Got a couple of questions for you, friend. All right. First off, can you remind folks onto where they can find resources about the grants that you just talked about, if you could?
Sure. So our website is dcarts.dc.gov, and when you go there, there's a tab at the top that says grants, and that's where to go for that information. Just drop down. You'll see one that's an open request for application, and one that's a closed one if you want to go find the past applications. I'll piggyback on Claudia real quick about the legal question. We too, one of our grantees is Washington Area Lawyers for the Arts. They also offer pro bono legal services specifically towards the arts community and nonprofit organizations and individual artists. So that's another resource for anyone who's looking for any kind of legal supports as well.
And do you all have specific opportunities available for maybe videographers and musicians in terms like the different, I guess you talked about the cohort program. So is that available for videographers and musicians separately?
Yes. So in the fellowship, the Arts and Humanities Fellowship Program, it's divided into artistic discipline. So we have a discipline for theater, one for music, one for design, one for media arts, dance, and so forth, so that when you're putting in an application, the disciplines aren't competing against each other. It's more of a apples to apples comparison. So when we send them through the panel process, all of the dance applications, for example, will be reviewed together by a panel qualified to review dance applications, and similar with photography, videography, anything like that. With Art Bank, the fine arts program, photography is considered within that as well. So it's not just painting or visual art like that. It's also photography, and also we have, if it works as far as like the technical specifications of it, we've taken some video art pieces as well into that collection. It's just those become technical kind of things of like, how big is it? How does it install? This sort of thing. Can we put it up in the hallway of a building and have it run in perpetuity and not break or anything like that? But we do have those opportunities as well for more design media professionals.
Jeff, you mentioned something about the grant panels. Is there an opportunity for creatives to participate on a panel to learn a little bit more about what that grant process is like?
Absolutely, and I thank you for bringing that up, because we always need panelists. It's one of the central tenets to the panel process, is that we have these outside reviewers that are reviewing and scoring these applications. It's voluntary, it's free, but right now we're running these panels in this sort of format, virtually from home. So under that grant section on our website, there is a section on how to become a panelist. It's a really simple, just fill out a one-sheet application of your information, send in your resume, and then as the year goes on, the grant managers will pull from basically the stack of applications they have and call folks up. So if they want to be a panelist. So if you submitted something to be a panelist and you didn't hear back right away, they have it on file. They'll get to you probably when they need you, but we certainly always need panels. And it's a good experience, because what we've always heard from a lot of our grantees is that after they served on a review panel, it made their applications that much stronger when they went in and applied for grants. And you can be, because it gives you that other perspective. You're on the other side of the process, and you hear what the reviewers are looking at, what they're responding to, and you can take that into account when you're preparing your application. And you can certainly be an applicant and a panelist at the same time, so you don't have to do one or the other. You just can't be a panelist on your own application for clear, obvious reasons. But you can certainly be a panelist on a different program while you're applying to a grant in another program as well.
Fantastic. Lee, any other questions we have?
Yeah, we have a couple more. Jeff, wondering if you all keep demographic data about awardees. And so do you all know the average age of folks who receive grants from the commission, or do you all not collect that type of data?
We don't capture a lot of that kind of information. We have basic award breakdown information and that kind of stuff, but we traditionally in the past haven't captured any sort of personally identifiable or gender, age, ethnic, demographic data in the past.
And then one more question for you, Jeff. Is poetry one of the categories that folks can apply for grants, or where does that fit into?
We do have there's literature available. If they have something specific, like if they're working on a book of poetry, a collection, or something that's like that, that could potentially qualify for the Project Event and Festivals grant. If that is the project that I'm going to produce, a series of readings where I'm going to produce a new book of poetry, they could go that route as well.
And then the last question, and this is for everyone on the panel, it was a question about like mentorship. And so if you all knew of any resources for folks who are looking for mentors, especially for creative entrepreneurs. Maryann, you wanted to maybe throw out some options, or if you wanted to sign up also with the consultation with the folks at Generator. I know they probably have some ideas as well, but that was the last question.
Yeah, one of the things that I would say to the mentorship thing, I think a lot of it depends on what kind of mentorship you're looking for, right? Because I think the general idea of mentorship is useful, but knowing how and where and what it is you're trying to accomplish with the connection of a mentor, I think is absolutely vital, because not every mentor is going to be useful and impactful and effective for you. So it's a good idea to start talking to somebody and have them ask you a couple questions and see if then from there you can figure out how to connect to the right people. I'll raise my hand. I'm happy to talk to anybody about that kind of thing and help see if we can find some people that might be able to support them and help them in the specific areas that they're interested in. Claudia, Jeff, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, when it comes to our partnerships and the resources that we offer with our specialists, like I'm one of the specialists that helps customers navigate through our regulatory process. They can always set up an appointment with me. They can always email me. They can call me. I'm open to texting. A lot of people like texting. So I always tell them to ask questions. Always ask questions before you give DC, even DCRA, a dime. Because what often happens is that they might do one process and like bypass another one, and then they have to go back, pay additional fees to correct that process. So I always let them know, ask questions.
So I really love that quote. I want to keep that. Always ask questions before you give DCRA a dime. I love that. That's great. I think that's good. That's good advice for anything. Jeff, I'm sorry. I think I might have cut you off. Any thoughts?
Just to run along the same theme, just call us. You can call me. Since I work external affairs, any general idea, I can point anyone in the right direction within our agency of who they really should be talking to if I can't answer the question. But it's a lot of times I think sort of what I was saying before. People, they may not think they have an idea, but they may not think that it's a grant idea or it's something that we would give a grant for. But oftentimes it might be, it might be something that we think would be interesting. And, we ourselves as staff aren't making the decisions, of course, based on what the panelists are reviewing and everything. But we try to, it's a very wide net of things that we, that fall under our rubric that would qualify. So we encourage people just to come and talk to us, and we can help flesh out ideas, help nuance them, help on the applications, so that you can get the funding that's necessary to put that creation out there.
Great, that's fantastic. Thank you guys for spending a little time with us. We're going to shift gears and say goodbye to you all and move into chatting with chatting with the Department of Employment Services. So thank you guys so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So Kennisha.
Hello.
Hello. I want to make sure that our folks, our community, get to know you a little bit. So this is Kennisha Rainge, who is now a member of the Creative Affairs team, and we're so thrilled to have her on the team. And I wondered if you could tell us a little bit about yourself. And you've been working in DC Gov for some time now.
Yes, I have. Thank you, Maryann. I am ecstatic to be a part of the Creative Affairs Office team. A little backstory about me. I started in DC government about 5-6 years ago. And I actually started in the Department of Employment Services in the Summer Youth Employment Program office. And I worked there for almost a year. And then I moved on over to the mayor's office in her talent and appointment office, helping to appoint some cabinet members and other key members in her staffing. And I stayed there for almost 3 years. And then I moved on over and I actually worked at the Commission on the Arts and Humanities as their chief of staff. And when the mayor created this exciting new opportunity with the Creative Affairs Office, I jumped at the opportunity because I had done so much work in hiring and building up agencies and helping to restructure. And I was just so excited to get this opportunity last fall, to join this amazing team and to help build up this office. And it's been amazing working with Maryann. We worked together even before I got to this office. So, but just in the rest of the team members, Lee has been great. So I'm just excited to be a part of this team in this phase of my career.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And we also have a Lynn on our team as well, who's been really vital too. I also want to let people know that you also are creative too, right? Like you have a creative side.
I am a creative. You know, I think I really realized this when I started working in this office. I was like, wait, I'm a creative too. You know, I've had my own bakery business since about 2012, but I've been doing it since I was a kid. But I officially started it in 2012. I had to do the whole process that Claudia talked about, filing my business license for it years ago and getting all that stuff set up with DCRA and doing all of those kind of things for my business. So yes, absolutely. I realized, wait, I am a creative. So yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I'm going to turn it on over you to introduce Andre and jump on into the conversation around the Department of Employment Services. And thank you for taking the helm.
Thank you. Thank you. So again, welcome everyone to this great portion of the conversation. Again, I'm Kennisha Rainge, Chief of Internal Affairs for the Creative Affairs Office. And I'm excited to have this conversation with you all today with my partner on here, Andre. And he's going to tell you about what he does at DOES, his department, and all that great stuff. And so we're going to have some great nuggets for you today. And so Andre, if you could just start us off with telling us about yourself, your department, and a little bit about what you guys do over there.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for inviting me today. Again, my name is Andre Chisolm. I'm one of the supervisors here at the Department of Employment Services in the Office of Unemployment Compensation. I've been with the agency for over 13 years, and we do a lot of exciting work in order to help individuals during these difficult times, particularly during the COVID-19 pandemic, to provide unemployment assistance to individuals to help them maintain their livelihoods during their brief separation from employment. Since the pandemic has occurred in March, we've had over 150% increase in the amount of claims filed, and we've paid almost over $300 million in unemployment insurance benefits to DC workers. So we're very proud to be able to assist our DC workers, and we're just ecstatic about it. We're hoping that Congress pass additional legislation to allow us to continue to pay benefits to our workers in the District of Columbia. DOS is the city's premier workforce agency. They deal with all worker and employee type issues. We also help our citizens seek for employment. We have a platform called DC Networks that allow our district residents or job seekers put up their profile, their resume, so that our employers in the city that are seeking talent in the city, they can go to that website and pick out applicants that are seeking work. So we do a lot of amazing things here in DOS, and we're just happy to be of service to our community.
Yeah. Well, Andre, as we can see, Andre is at work right now. All of us, so DOES, that's one thing I would say before we start this. DOES has not stopped, okay? They are in there. Of course, social distance, I'm sure.
Right.
He's by himself, but he's in that building working as we speak. So I'm definitely grateful to you right now that you took the time out of your schedule to talk with us today. And so we're going to do this one a little different. So I also have the PowerPoint presentation that we'll be going along with as we're having this conversation. So, but don't worry, everyone watching, we'll be sending out some wonderful materials to follow up any of the things that we talk about. And also we have some one-pagers, and then we'll also have a Q&A session when our conversation is over. So anything that you want more information on, it will either be in those Q&A, that Q&A section, or those FAQ documents that we'll send out after the conversation, because I know it's a lot and I know it's some great information that you guys can use. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so you guys can see the start of the PowerPoint, and then Andre, we'll get started with this conversation, okay?
Okay.
All right, wonderful. But we're just going to have a conversation and talk through all of this, and we'll talk through all of this right now. So, Andre, can you start with telling us, because DOES has some great key programs that supports the creative community. You talked about it a little bit, the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program, the Pandemic Emergency Unemployment Compensation Program, and also the Federal Pandemic Unemployment Compensation Program as well. So if you could start with telling us about the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program, that would be wonderful. So if you could tell us that would be great.
Okay,
Thanks.
great. So, as you all know, back in March, at the beginning of this pandemic, Congress was able to pass what we know as the CARES Act. The CARES Act is the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, right? So what happened was Congress allowed us to pay enhanced benefits on a program that we already have, and one of those enhanced programs is the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program. Now, the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program is geared towards freelancers, gig workers, self-employed individuals, our Uber drivers, our Lyft drivers, and also members in your community as far as the creative arts community that, may pick up a job here or there. And they really don't get like a 1099 and make it like a W-2. I mean, they would not get a W-2. They'll get a 1099. When Congress passed this act, the vision was to be able to assist as many people as we can, as well as those individuals who would not be eligible for traditional unemployment assistance. So as you see, again, it's geared towards individuals who would not be eligible for a regular claim, and it provides assistance, unemployment benefits to them as well. The minimum you can get in pandemic unemployment assistance is $179 per week. Now, if those claimants could show that as a result of the COVID-19 health pandemic that they lost income to it, we're able to pay them as much as $444 a week. They will have to provide additional information such as their 1099 information, 2019 income tax returns. Also, we have a lot of individuals who may have was ready to start a job, but as a result of the COVID-19, either the employer had to say, hey, we have to postpone your start date, or we're not going to be able to open up at all. If they have those type of documents, what we can do is we can consider them for PUA, and particularly those tax documents will allow us to see if we can give them more than $179 per week. So it's an exciting program. It has a long reach to those individuals who are not traditional employees like we are, but they're out there, they're job seekers, they're trying to have their own business and what have you, but they have been impacted as a result of COVID-19. So that's the intent of that program, and I think this program is ideal for the constituents that you serve.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. Thank you. And like I said, all this information will be available for you all. So we'll circle back on that later. So tell us about the Pandemic Emergency Unemployment Compensation Program, Andre.
Okay, great. So the Pandemic Emergency Unemployment Compensation allows for the District of Columbia to pay extended benefits to individuals that may have exhausted benefits, right? So typically when you have an unemployment claim in the District of Columbia, you're given a set amount of money that you're allowed to collect over a 26-week period, right? But as we know, a lot of businesses are not coming back or are struggling to get open again. So that it means that employees may have to sit out a little bit longer. So part of the CARES Act was, again, this Pandemic Emergency Unemployment Compensation. And this adds an additional 13 weeks of federally funded unemployment compensation to individuals. So claimants can now receive not 26 weeks, but up to 39 weeks of unemployment compensation. Now, the extra 13 weeks that we're paying claimants is federally funded through by the federal government. So this doesn't add any burden on employers in the city. As we all know, employers have to pay unemployment insurance taxes to our trust fund in order to pay benefits out of our program. But these 13 weeks are federally funded. So this is another thing that we're excited about, to be able to provide a much needed assistance. Now, PUA applicants as well are entitled to this additional 13 weeks of benefits as well. So again, that's another opportunity for us to reach people and help them a little bit longer.
Oh, that's wonderful, wonderful. And I love that you put that, you said that the PUA applicants are eligible for this program as well. So I also read about the federal pandemic unemployment compensation benefit that you guys have. Can you tell us about that and a key point about that as well?
Right. So the federal pandemic unemployment compensation adds an additional $600 of benefits on top of a claimant's weekly benefit amount. So in the District of Columbia, claiming a regular unemployment claim, it ranges from $50 all the way up to $444. PUA claimants, they actually start a little higher at $179, and they can go all the way up to $444 as well. With the we call it FPUC. The FPUC payments add $600 on top of a claimant's weekly benefit amount. So for instance, if a claimant is entitled to $50 of unemployment compensation in the district, this allows us to add $600 on top of that. So the claimant will not get $50, they'll actually get $650. For our PUA applicants, like I stated earlier, the minimum amount right now is $179, but with this FPUC payment, our PUA claimants are getting $779 per week while they're unemployed. The only drawback is that this is the as I was mentioning before, this is going to expire next week, July 25th, meaning that we will no longer be able to pay an additional $600 on top of a weekly benefit amount unless Congress approves this extension. And we really wish that we can continue to pay this, but we can only pay this additional $600 or any kind of extended benefits if it's federally mandated. So if you have customers who need to sign up for PUA, we ask that they file as quickly as possible, because they'll be able, if they file this week, they'll be able to get the extra $600 this week and next week as well.
was just about to ask you that.
Yeah.
Honey, you're on it. Because, since the federal pandemic unemployment compensation benefit, the $600 benefit, since it expires next week, on the 25th, you said?
Yeah, the 25th of July. That'll be the last week that we can do. But the good thing about what we do here at DOS is that if you're late to the game and if you can show that you've been impacted due to COVID, we're able to consider giving you back weeks, right? So let's say you need to be paid back to February 2nd. Guess what? We'll be able to pay the extra $600 only after the bill was passed, which was March 27th. But we would consider claimants who, may have trouble filing, didn't understand the filing process, and we'll review it on a case-by-case basis, and hopefully we can give them any kind of back benefits they may be entitled to, which may include the $600 as well.
That is wonderful. I didn't know that. I didn't know that you could do a retroactive pay in a sense up until when the bill was passed. And so if a person did need it to be retroactive, if they're on this call today, they have to file for the PUA this week as well, by this week in order to receive.
Well, so PUA, the PUA program is actually running all the way to the end of the year. Through March, to December 31st. But what I'm saying is that if they didn't know about the program, they're interested in the program, and they're I guess late to being able to file, we will consider it on a case by case basis if we're going to pay them, if we can give them any kind of back weeks. So let me give a little bit more background about PUA. PUA applicants can go back as far as February 2nd to be considered for PUA. The $600 though, we only start paying $600 beginning the week of April 4th, right? So let's say they want to be backdated to February 2nd, we would pay them $179 a week up until April 4th, and then on April 4th afterwards, we'll start paying them an additional $600 on top of that. So the biggest thing that if for your community, they can file. Once they file, they can put in a request. When they file, that we backdate or consider them for backdating. But they need to provide additional documents. I think we had it on the slide too, as far as tax documents and showing how they was impacted due to COVID.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we'll get to that, any additional documents now. But so one thing that I want to talk about was the weekly certifications that is required for these applicants. So can you walk us through that portion?
Right. So every UI applicant, whether they're PUA or regular UI, they have to let us know if they are seeking benefits for the week that they're filing for. So this is the weekly certification process. I usually, in my webinars, correlate the weekly certification as the same as you're putting your time in at work. If you don't put your time in, you don't get paid, right? Same principle with the weekly certification process. It allows us to determine whether you're unemployed or underemployed during the week, and for us to determine if you're entitled to a benefit payment for that week. We ask our claimants to do this every Sunday so that we can make sure that we review the information and get you our payments in a timely manner. Claimants can start doing their weekly certification as early as Sunday for the previous week. Unemployment weeks goes from Sunday to Saturday. At the end of Saturday, the next day is Sunday, so that's when they'll start reporting the activity for the previous week. Now, again, the earlier they provide this information, the earlier we can determine if they're due a benefit payment.
Okay. And again, those watching, if you have questions, just drop them in the chat. I know this is a lot of information, but we are excited to get it out to you all. So thank you for that, Andre, for telling us about the weekly certifications. And so one question I also had is that what if someone doesn't have access to the internet? Like, how can they still file?
Right. So, we wanted to make sure during the COVID-19 pandemic that we removed as many barriers as possible. A lot of our claimants usually go to the libraries, which we know were closed, or maybe have relatives come over, but everybody's practicing social distancing. So if you have a phone, minimally, you can definitely contact our Customer Navigation Center, and their number is 202-724-7000. As a result of the pandemic, the city has really ramped up support for us by adding additional staff members to our navigation call center as well as our adjudication unit in order to meet the demand of the high volume of claimants that we've seen. So customers can definitely call us again, 202-724-7000. They can actually, do their claims over their phone. If they have the internet over their phone, they can actually, go to their browser on their phone and go to the same website, www.dcnetworks.org, and start their unemployment application there as well.
Okay, wonderful. And I know, just to reiterate what you said in the beginning, I know that you said you guys have had such a high call volume. What was the percentage that you guys normally do every year for your for unemployment?
So typically we average around like 36,000 claims a year. Since March, we've gotten over 125,000 claims in a 4-month span. So it's like almost 3 or 4-fold the amount. So and this is because of that. This is why we've ramped up our services, particularly in our call center and support staff. We have help from all our sister agencies in the city to meet this demand. So we're very excited to be able to try to help our customers and ramp up our services in order to assist those in need right now.
Yes, like I definitely, I know I echo, everyone on this call. We definitely appreciate you all's work and service to us. And so we're going to get some questions in a moment, but just give us a quick recap of everything that we talked about just now. Andre, I have a slide on the screen that has like your recap as well.
Okay, great. No problem. So again, here's the guys, if you don't know how our process is, just go ahead and just file. We'll take care of the rest. If you have questions or you're unsure, you can file a claim, an initial application with us. You can file it on our website at www.dcnetworks.org or call our navigation call center at 202-724-7000. For those PUA applicants, there's a 2-step process. You have to first file out initial application on our website, and then the next day you have to complete your PUA application. This is where we ask additional information to help us determine your eligibility for PUA. And you will go to dcdoes.force.com/PUA forms /S/S. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you can definitely go to our website, our agency website, which is does.dc.gov, to get all this information that we're talking about today. The federal pandemic unemployment compensation, the extra $600, we've begun those payments back on April 21st. And again, they will expire on July 25th, 2020. For the extended benefits, which is pandemic emergency unemployment compensation, again, once you've exhausted your benefits, you can go ahead and submit your application at www.dcnetworks, and we'll consider you for extended benefits. You must submit your weekly certification for benefits each Sunday for the previous week, and unfortunately, failure to provide that weekly certification may delay your benefit payment. So please make sure you do your weekly benefits as early as Sunday. And each claim that is filed in the District of Columbia is subject to a 21-day investigation. And due to the high volume of claims we got, it may take a little bit longer, but again, we've added additional staff to make sure that we meet this requirement. And again, we just debate, if you just follow these rules, I'm sure you have a pleasant experience with the DOES Unemployment Office.
Okay. Wonderful. So before we even end this, what are some other programs at DOES that might be, just any trainings that you guys have just to, build up the DC residents? What are some other key programs maybe that you guys have?
So we have a fantastic workforce side in DOS that help district residents prepare to re-enter back into the job field, into the work field. We provide a slew of trainings, from apprenticeship training to resume writing and what have you. So the biggest thing I want to give your audience today is that if you're a job seeker in the District of Columbia, the biggest thing you can do today is go and build your profile up, your employment profile up on dcnetworks.org. DC Networks has 2 functions, the unemployment side and the workforce side. And you can actually build a profile on DC Networks that allow employers who are looking for employees, they can actually go to that website and say, hey, you know what, I want to reach out to this person. So you remember how we had Monster back in the day? DOES has the same type of platform for job seekers and employers that are looking for talent in the District of Columbia. So go to dcnetworks.org today, build up your profile, upload your resume so that you can have another vehicle to help you seek employment.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. And so, Lee, I know we're going to get into some questions soon. I hope you guys got some good questions coming for us. Andre, I hope you're ready.
Yeah, I got you, Andre. You ready for me?
I'm ready. Come on.
All right, let's do this. All right, the first question. So I'm going to take my time with this because there's a lot of detail here. When filling out my claimant services report, I sometimes have a random gig here and there with organizations, and it asks if I'm still working for them, as well as dates for when you started ended. Because it's an at-will type of gig setup, those questions don't exactly make sense. How should I report gig work during weeks while still doing everything correctly, knowing I could get more gigs from them eventually, but it's not a guarantee? As a solopreneur, I do quite a bit of gig work through specific groups, but COVID has cut them back greatly, and it's hard to know how long they'll continue to offer them given budget freezes.
Right. So that's an excellent question. And that question goes not only to our PUA applicants, but our regular UA applicants. By law, anytime you're working or performing services, and as far as our PUA claimants, you must report the earnings that you earned in the week that you performed the work. So for instance, let's say you had a gig tonight, it paid you $500, and you don't have any more gigs for the rest of the week. On your weekly certification form, you have to report that you made $500 in the week, right? And so a lot of times, claimants may have an assignment that they'll get paid on the 15th and the 30th of the week. What you have to do is you have to calculate the value of your work in that week and then report it on your weekly claim form, even if you haven't received the payment yet. So we don't want claimants to report their earnings when they finally receive it. They have to report the earnings in the week that they actually performed the work. Okay. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you.
The next question, because we know you all are dealing with such high call volume, do you partner with other organizations to help people fill out the paperwork, or do folks need to go through DOES for support?
Well, we prefer that applicants really research our website, because we have a lot of material that gives a lot of instructions on how to complete your weekly certification process, how to file an initial application. So if they can go to our does.dc.gov and just research our page, they'll find that there's a slew of information there that can help them navigate through our unemployment process.
Okay. Thank you.
One of the things that we talked about in the first part of today's conversation was about collaboration. So how does DOES collaborate with other agencies, including, DCRA or possibly the Commission on the Arts and Humanities?
So I'm really not well versed in all the different collaborations, but we, as a city, we work hand in hand with our sister agencies to be able to support the objective of all the different agencies in the District of Columbia. As I stated earlier, the mayor was able to pull resources from all different agencies to assist us during this pandemic when our claim rate, filing rate went through the roof. So whenever there's a mission or a task, DOES is always at the table, ready to offer as much assistance as we can, and in return, the agencies help us out as well. So again, I'm not well versed, but I've seen, the collaboration of all district agencies pulling together to serve the better need of the city.
Right. And I know one major way, just from my previous work, one major way that you guys do collaborate is through the Summer Youth Employment Program.
Right.
When you send, qualified youth to different agencies throughout the district to help support their teams throughout the summer, and also send the youth out to various other agencies that aren't even in DC government. But
Right.
I know that's a great way that you guys partner, is that you provide additional staffing throughout the summer through this SYP program. So that's a wonderful way as well. But it's plenty of ways as well.
Yeah, that's why I say it's so much. I can't, I'm glad you brought the summer youth thing. I just totally forgot about that. We're so inundated with unemployment and getting benefits out. But I've seen like the magic of DOS as far as being able to like partnership with other agencies and really provide great opportunities for our youth as well as other district residents.
Wonderful. Yes.
Oh, I have a few more questions. Got a couple more questions.
Okay.
I had another question about access. So what if someone isn't an English speaker, or maybe like deaf or hard of hearing? How do those folks get the support that they need around filing these claims?
Great. So I'm glad you asked that question. We have interpreters that assist us with helping our citizens, whereas English may not be their first language. When they call our navigation center, we can readily identify that we need to get an interpreter on the phone. We recognize all the major languages recognized by the district, so we have interpreters online. We also have chat rooms. Claimants can email us at covid19.ui@dc.gov. So we've made it a very assertive move, is making sure that we remove all communications barriers for all our customers, whether they're hearing impaired, whether their English is not their first language. So we've stepped up to the plate and made sure that we've made sure there's no barriers to having access to DOS.
Awesome. A couple more questions. If I live in the district but have gig work in Maryland or Virginia, do I file in DC or in those states?
So that's a great question. So what happens is, the general rule is, if you have an unemployment claim in the District of Columbia, you have to report earnings that you make anywhere. DOS is also a big brother in the sense that we know where claimants have earnings at, and we can, find those earnings. But all unemployment agencies in the United States require that you report earnings that you earn, no matter where you're filing for unemployment at. One of the things about unemployment, I'm glad you brought this up, because a lot of times claimants really don't know where they should file for unemployment. So for those individuals who are particularly W-2 employees, we have a lot of district residents who may work outside of the district, let's say in Maryland. If they had to file an unemployment claim, they wouldn't file unemployment where they live at. They would file it in the state that they actually perform the work at. Now, PUA is a little different because, anyone could file for PUA, but the biggest thing is that if you're working, having any kind of gig work, that you make sure that you report your earnings wherever you have an unemployment claim at.
Okay.
Yep. Got a couple more.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. Are you still working for this employer question in the claimant services for gig workers? If I say yes, does that nullify my qualification for the CARES payment? Since it's gig, I am technically on a roster, so it's possible to be called in, but it doesn't happen very often.
Right. So we have a lot of our claimants, whereas they may get some hours here, may not be needing hours. And like a lot of our customers work for temp agencies where, employment may not be constant. Again, the only thing you have to do is report your earnings in any week that you perform work on your weekly certification form, and we'll take care of the rest. Again, just please report your earnings, because what happens is, if you don't report your earnings as you're supposed to, unfortunately, that may result in an overpayment, and then you have to pay the money back. We may intercept your tax income refund, and sometimes we had to send people to jail because they fraudulently collect unemployment when they weren't entitled to it. So again, just report your earnings. If you're not sure, report it anyway, and we'll be there to assist those customers if they have any kind of questions. The biggest thing is that if we're seeing that you're making an earnest attempt to report your earnings and may not be sure, there's no harm, no foul. But when you don't report your earnings and willfully, then that becomes the issue. And then unfortunately, we have to take legal action in order to recoup those benefits that you may not have been entitled to.
Okay.
Thank you for that. And then the final question is, after the PUA is over, are there other ways that DOES supports gig workers?
The biggest thing I would say is that to get engaged with our workforce side of DOES, so that you can be aware of any opportunities in the arts arena that may benefit you. Again, if you log on to DC Networks, create your profile, there's so much activity in the city, different avenues of different types of employment. I think putting your profile and your resume with DC Networks will be the best thing that you can do, because your information is there. So when art projects are in the city and they need creative talent, they can use our platform to find those individuals that may suit their artistic needs.
Okay, thank you for that. So Kennisha, those are all the questions that I have. I don't know if you had additional ones.
Okay, yeah, no, those questions are great. Thank you all for all of your questions. So just my last question is, what is the website where we can go to find all this information? And as always, we're of course, we're going to send out some documents to you guys as well, some one-pagers. But where can we find you all at again, Andre?
Well, we definitely are on social media, both Facebook and Twitter. But you can also visit our agency website at does.dc.gov, as well as dcnetworks.org. If you visit both of those sites, you'll definitely see that there's a plethora of information that'll help you walk you through the process, as well as seeing other programs and opportunities that DOES provides. So dos.dc.gov is the best site that you can go to learn more about DOES.
Okay, and the number to call in case someone doesn't have internet?
Yes, ma'am. That number is 202-724-7000.
Okay, thank you so much, Andre. This has been a wealth of information, and I know this has helped someone. And so we definitely appreciate you today for your services and your time.
Anytime. Please invite me next time.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Take care, guys.
You too. All right. Well, thank everyone for joining today for our District of Creativity Day, for our resources. And so you all, we will be sending out some information to you all as a follow-up, and we'll have all of the resources that we talked about today included in that follow-up email as well. As if you have any questions, of course, you can email us at DC Creative Affairs, and you can also follow up with Generator as well. So thank you, and a video of this webinar will be available as well. So thank you all, and I pray that you have a great day.